Hi everyone, it's Heidi from flutterbyheidi.co.uk. I'm Heidi Smith. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator based in the United Kingdom, and today I'm taking part in a blog hop, or this is the video for the project, the blog hop, along with my fellow Pootlers. So I have my own team called Flutterbys, and I'm part of a team called the Pootlers. And our challenge or theme for today is actually the new January to June catalogue. So the mini catalogue has some absolutely beautiful products in it. If you haven't got a copy, then do get in touch with me if you'd like me to be your demonstrator. If you've already got a demonstrator, then give them a shout. Or if you don't want a hard copy, then, which I know a lot of people don't, you can have a look at it online on my blog. There's a link, or you can go to the Stampin' Up! Website as well. And you go to heidismith.stampinup.net to shop with me. So one of the stamp sets in here, or the bundles, is this lovely flowering Rainboots. So this comes a lovely stamp set, coordinating dies which cut out all of those images on the front. Some really lovely sentiments: first of sympathy, every storm that comes also ends, live life in full bloom, our friendship is naturally beautiful, and rain or shine, I'm here for you. And as you can see, I've done my usual, already been playing and stamping. And as you can see, the new way of the case has the place for the images. In fact, the only image I haven't actually stamped are a couple of the sentiments and the little seed packet. It comes, as a bundle, so you get your 10% discount, or you can buy it separately. And obviously, if you wanted to, you could then fussy cut these. But to be honest with you, I'd get the dies. And I thought it would pair beautifully with this Flowering Fields DSP, which actually goes with another Flowering Tulips. But because the images have got tulips, I thought this matched perfectly. So these are 12 by 12 sheets. So this is just a sample. On the front, lovely, bold, floral images, and then some generic backgrounds on the back there. Lots of lovely colours in there, lovely clouds in that one. So you've got Calypso Coral. This one really shows them all off beautifully. Calypso Coral and Petal Pink. We've got Fresh Freesia, Highland Heather, Mango Melody, Pear Pizzazz in the background there. We've got some Petal Pink, that lovely pink here. We've got Poppy Parade, lovely bright red, a bit of Pumpkin Pie, and in here a bit of rich raspberry, some soft succulent, and some So Saffron. So a real range of lovely spring-like colours. You can see the reds and the pinks on that one. Again, some lovely sort of gouache painted backgrounds, and that's probably my least favourite, but a really useful background on there. So that's the paper we're going to use. And I say really versatile because I felt it matched really well. And this is the card. So it is a fun pop-up card. It's one I came up with. I haven't seen anybody do this, so I don't know if it's unique. I'm sure it isn't. Somebody's bound to have done something similar. But you see, it becomes like a 3D card, as you can see there. And then at the back there, I've actually scored that flap so that you can actually get in and see it, but it stands nice and square on the front. So it's a bit of fun. I've used the accent die there. There's a sort of like a trellis die which I've put on here, and I've used a range of lovely sort of spring-like colours. So I've used Mango Melody, Pumpkin Pie, a bit of Cajun Craze here. This is Soft Succulent, and then the Evening Evergreen for those stamped images as well. And they've got this distinctive effect on it as well, so you get lots of lovely texture. So let's get started. Quite a bit of die cutting, quite a bit of stamping, yeah, we can do that. So I've got some scraps of my basic white here, and because this is a photopolymer stamp set, I'm actually going to use my Stampin' Pierce matte for these. So the first thing I'm going to do is stamp my boots. And actually what I thought I'd do is I'd go for the purples on this one. So having done the oranges and yellows, I thought I'm going to go for kind of rich raspberry, Highland Heather, and a bit of Pear Pizzazz. And I thought I'd use this lovely paper here, which I showed you a moment ago, obviously on my mind. So first thing we're going to do is stamp our images. So tap, tap, tap to get them nice and even. And you can see they just absolutely perfectly every time. Then we're going to do my Cajun Craze. I'm using a bit of a large block for this one because I've got my blocks in use on lots of other projects at the moment. I'm going to use Bumblebee, which isn't one of the colours listed, but I thought it worked well with these for my little bunch of flowers. Not really sure, because I just thought they reminded me of sort of marigolds. And that being the flowers as opposed to the washing up gloves. Show my age. You can still get marigolds, I'm sure. Okay, so that's just a bit of Bumblebee there. And then I thought I'd do the tulips in rich raspberry and also in Highland Heather. So I'm going to end up with really pink. I'll do my Highland Heather first, my lighter one. So Highland Heather. There we go, and then give that a quick clean. Got my chamois just to one side for quick cleaning. This is fine just for a very quick clean in between stamps, but I shall use my Stampin' Pierce. No, I won't use my Stampin' Pierce at all. I'm going to use my Stampin' Scrub afterwards. Okay. Again, give that a quick clean on my chamois. You can see it's a well-loved chamois, but just helps reduce the staining. And that probably won't quite fit on there. I've got a large bit of card. You've got a bit of card to hand. Of course, I haven't right this moment. Well, I've actually got some already, so those I'm going to actually stamp in, I'm going to stamp those in Evening Evergreen, that really dark green, because I think, you know, most tulips tend to have really dark petals, leaves. Can't get my words sorted today. Okay, let's put those out of the way. Might just fit on here. Oh yes, just about. Okay, so now what you're going to do is obviously die cut these. So things to note when you're die cutting. First of all, if you've got a magnetic plate, great, that's really useful. If you haven't, then and even if you have, I would still recommend, for me, using a bit of the post-it note tape. It comes in a roll, really easy to use. If you can't get hold of it, then a bit at the top of your post-it note. So I'm going to die cut these first, and with these Stampin' Up dies, if you just have a look, you should be able to see just the outline of the image, and that then sticks down. I'll need to put these through a couple of times, because what you don't want to do is overlap your dies. So we've got a choice here. What you can do is, if they're using different images, then you can cut between them like this, and then you can obviously separate them out. But I say, what you don't want to do is put them too close on your die cutting plate and then end up ruining your dies. That's certainly, because obviously if you overlap these steel dies, they will distort each other. So again, just pop that in there, and then pop these onto your die cutting machine. I'm going to use the mini cut and emboss because that's really small and convenient, and I can just use it on my desktop. So I shall layer those up. So it'll be a couple of passes. So again, with this, you can see here, I'm just making sure that my image is nicely lined up, and pop that through. So it tells you on this base plate what order to do them in. You can see mine's already well loved. Layer them up, you'll see they're numbered on the top. Pop those through, and I'll come back in a moment, and give you the die cut images. Okay, so what have we got? We've got some boots in Pear Pizzazz. I've done some Highland Heather and Rich Raspberry. I've got my bumblebee flowers. Pop the dies away somewhere safe. I've actually done a second set of leaves, and I'll show you that in a moment. I've done a second flower pot, and then I've added some self-adhesive sheet to the back of some cinnamon cider, you can see here, and then I've die cut those. I didn't need a full length, so I didn't bother die cutting a full length. Okay, and then I've got an extra Highland Heather as well. So I think that's all the die cutting that I needed to do. Let's hope so. If not, I shall have to have a brief pause, and we'll have to do do some more die cutting. So now we can crack on with the card base itself. So the first bit I'm going to do is actually the front piece. So I'm going to use Pear Pizzazz, and I've gone for Pear Pizzazz on this one because I've chosen this paper and it's picking up the Pear Pizzazz in that, because it's going to come across the front here. So we want something that's going to blend in. So you're going to need your trimmer. So this piece is 18 by 7.5 centimetres. And on the short edge, you are going to score at 9.5, at 12, at 14.5, and at 17 centimetres. So this is our little narrow tab at the end. For the middle section, you're going to need one that's 20.5 by 10.5. And you're going to score on the long edge at 9.5, at 12, at 14.5, at 17, and at 19.5. Okay. You then want a piece of DSP to go on the front there that is 12 by 10.5. It's going to go on the front here, and you want to score this left hand edge at 2.5. And then for the very back, really simple, 14.5 by 10.5, a piece of contrast card. I'm just using again some Pear Pizzazz that's 11.5 by 10, and then some white that is 11 by 9.5. Okay, so one last little bit of stamping, and I'm actually going to grab my Cape and Craze and my bumblebee, and I'm just going to pop a little plant pot in the bottom corner there. I'm going to grab my bunch of flowers, and I would repeat this on my envelope as well. Just grab flowers. Oh, I haven't used my Stampin' Pierce mat. There you go. Look at that, still lovely crisp image from that. And then I'm going to decorate the edge of that with one of my die cuts. So, as I said, I don't need a whole one. I'm just going to, it will just take a full length one. So I'm just going to snip off the end there. And actually you end up with lots of little square tiles like this, which I'm sure I'm going to use for some kind of mosaic at some stage. So a bit of fun. So I'm just going to peel that backing off there, and then as usual just to come in and line it up. Just on the edge there. So that's just a lovely bit of trellis to sort of echo the image. Now if you want to save on a bit of bulk and a bit of what can I say? A bit of bulk and a bit of be a bit frugal, then just gut the middle out of this. As I say, it does fold flat, so you do end up with a reason. Obviously it wouldn't go as a standard letter, it would need to go as a thicker letter or be hand delivered. Yeah. Okay, so that's just like our frame. Then we can just come in, put some adhesive on that. Pop that like so. And that can then be layered straight onto our background piece. That's going to go in here. I will do measurements in inches, I should have said earlier, and I'll pop those on my blog. I just think it gets a little bit confusing when I'm talking both centimetres and inches doing the video. Confuses me, even if it doesn't confuse you. So there's our background, our back layer, ready for you to write onto. So let's come on to our second layer. So the first thing is to add our DSP, and I'm just going to just fold that a couple of times because it's going to cover the whole of that front. Now the next scores I'm going to reinforce. So the first score line is just a crease to enable you to look, peek behind and see what the sentiment says. On this one, I'm having reinforced those with my bone folder. I'm just trimming off just a little bit of an angle there. So this is going to go on the very front, and it covers the whole of the front of the card. So this is a great one to use your Tombow for, and use the other end. So you're going to want some glue all over, pretty much all over that. And so this like the spatula end is great for spreading that on there. Now, just line that up on the edge. Okay. And while that's damp, just work that a little bit. There we go. Now the next bit, I'm actually going to use my red tape on this. But you want to get a good strong seal, so either use Seal Plus or some of the red liner tape. So this is going to fold. So on the second score line is where we're going to be folding to create our front. So you can see that there. So if you fold it, you'll see I've just folded that end over, and that's going to fold over like so, and that creates our little box, and that box is going to then attach. So the one that's nearest the main part of the card is the best way to describe that. I'm going to put another couple of strips, or if you've got the wide tape, put a wider piece on onto the front there. So this is going to line up with that back panel. Sorry, I should have shown you. If you push it the other way, you want to make sure it lines up like this. Nice and square, like so. So now we've got the first section, which opens up, and then we can obviously lift that up and write our sentiment. Now we need to add our front layer. So same principle again, just trim the corners off those and reinforce those creases, and as we go along we're just making sure they're nice and square as well. So as I said, create our little box, and we want to make sure that that is the first one that we stick down. So there we go, folding 2 sections. Now this one, fold it so that we've got a section here, and you're lining it up like this. So the glue is going on this section. As I've said before, I do find it useful to create a template out of some old cardstock, if you've got some handy. So that you've got something to refer to. What you don't want to do is go ahead and do a really fabulous card and then find that you've made a mistake. So as I say, this one is lovely because it lines up on the front, and that's going to come up like that. So now we've got it flat, before we add it to our other ones, let's do our layers. So our decoration for the front, a little tip here, I'm using just the edge of my scissors, you could use a craft knife, and I'm cutting along the curve of that boot and on the second one. And what that does is that creates a little slot, because I'm going to cut up here slightly, just take a notch out, and that's going to pop my, take a notch, slightly bigger notch, here we go, out of this one. That's going to enable our leaves to really sit in the top of those boots. And if you need to cut a little bit more, you just need to cut a touch more on the edge. Actually cut through, not to worry. But that way it really looks like they're coming out of the top of those Wellington boots. 2 things I'm going to do to attach that here is I'm going to put a tiny bit of glue on the underside. So they're going to come in like so. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these for my dimensionals to cover up. So dimensionals are going to do 2 things. They're first of all going to hold that in place, and then they're going to lift it up off the card front as well. So here we go. Now again, while I've got these, I'm going to actually hold that in front of there and see which ones we want to do 2 lots of. Probably the Highland Heather, I think. No, I think let's go for Rich Raspberry. So on the Rich Raspberry, what I'm going to do is pop some glue on the tops of the stems. So I'm not going to put them on top on the flowers. I'm going to put them on the stems because I don't want too much glue around there. Okay. So, and I found it easiest to kind of line those up on the left hand side, like so. You see these stems then go to the centre of the flowers. Pop that to one side. Again, we'll use some dimensionals. Now, I'm now going to come in and cut these in half. And I'm going to cut the flowers accordingly. So you'll see that these 2 little ones on the end just come off. And I'm just going to do the same to glue those to the top. So again, come on with the stems. Like so. And while I'm here, actually, let's pop our flower pot as well. These, I'm just popping the glue on the very top of those flowers. Flower pot even. Not touching the flowers at all. Okay. Right. So while those are drying, we can now add these. Again, just to the top. As you can see, our card is really starting to come together. Like so. So now we can start to create our scene on the front of our card. So I wanted a second. Yep. So this one's going to go into the top of my flower, onto the top of my flower pot. So there's my flower pot. So again, we just need to add a little adhesive there and pop those. Now the beauty is with these that obviously just attaching them, by the time you've actually, in a moment, we'll actually use some dimensionals to cover up that join, which will help keep them together as well. If you've got any glue on the front at all, if you're worried about it, just pop it down on a non-stick sheet, and then we can grab dimensionals, so dimensional heaven. So we're going to pop dimensional right over that join there. I'm then going to use my mini dimensionals and pop some on the top here. So again, we're using the dimensionals. I'm not going to put it on that outer one. I'll tell you why in a moment. Because that one is going to obviously overhang. I am going to pop one there. And down this left hand edge. So now what we want to do is build up our dimensionals to create our picture. I'm going to leave a space here because I'm going to be tucking some behind. I'm going to add some to the top here. Not so, quite so far up because those are going to overhang at the top as well. So I'm going to have a look at where I need them now. So I can come up to the middle section of the there. So I'm going to pop these on the front. I'm then going to come in, make sure I haven't come too far over. And with this, the lovely thing is that you can actually overhang it without it getting damaged, because it's going to be protected by the rest of the card. So just pop that there. I'm going to add in that one there, and just with a couple of dimensionals on the back. And this one again, where I can, I'm using a dimensional to cover up that join. Just pop that in there. And then finally, I'm going to add some dimensionals onto this. Again, keeping that front edge free because we want that to overlap onto our boots. Like so. So now all that remains is for us to add this to the front of our card. And with this one, again, if you remember, we're lining it up with that right hand edge. Nice and square with the bottom. And there we have our fold up, pop up card using the gorgeous flowering rain boots and some of our lovely Flowering Fields DSP. What do you think? Which one do you prefer? Do you have a preference? Do you like them both? Both bright and cheery, and I think both would make anybody really happy. And the lovely thing is they fold flat. Obviously I've added a bit of trellis on that. I forgot to add it onto this one. I don't think it matters too much, but up to you. Thank you for watching. Do come back and see me again soon. And if you'd like to purchase any of the products, please do click on the links below to follow the links to my shop, and please hop along and have a look at the other inspiration from this wonderful new catalogue. Thanks everyone. Bye.